Have you ever felt it, even if you deny it? That strange moment when your heart starts beating faster, as if it knows something before your mind can grasp it. A vague suspicion, a tightness in your chest, a quiet whisper in the background of your thoughts telling you something isn't right. You're standing there, trying to hold on, while the person who once looked at you like you were everything now seems distant, unreachable, emotionally absent. They used to smile when they saw you. They used to seek you out, to need you, or at least it felt that way. But now, without any clear explanation, they've started to fade away. They no longer text you the same way. They no longer listen with real attention. Their eyes no longer hold the same warmth when they look at you. But you refuse to accept it. You create stories to justify their behavior. You invent reasons, excuses, imaginary circumstances. You lie to yourself, because to face the truth would mean demolishing the emotional castle you've built, brick by brick, out of pure illusion. And somewhere deep inside you, inside all of us, there's a part that clings to the sweet lie rather than face the violent truth. You're not here by accident. There's something in you that already knows. It senses it. It's tired of pretending not to notice. Yes, maybe you're surrounded by people, but how many of them are really with you? How many stay when you're no longer useful, when you're no longer fixing their problems, when you're not feeding their ego or filling their emptiness? There are people who don't love you, not the way you think, not the way you need. They tolerate you. They use you. They manipulate you with carefully rehearsed smiles. They keep you close, but always one step behind, because they're not interested in your essence. What they want is your energy, your attention, your emotional availability. And the worst part? They know exactly what they're doing. They know what buttons to press to keep you hooked. They know how to sound broken, just enough for you to feel like you have to fix them. And you, with that limitless heart, you do it, at the expense of your peace, your identity, your emotional well-being. Have you ever asked yourself why some people disappear just when you need them the most? Why they only show up when they're hurting, but vanish when it's your soul that's breaking? Have you stopped to reflect on how often you give and how little you receive in return? That emotional scale is always out of balance, but you keep trying to steady it, even if it means sacrificing yourself completely. Why? What are you really looking for? Love? Acceptance? Some long-lost validation you never received in childhood? Maybe a subconscious promise that if you just give enough, someone will finally choose to stay. Carl Jung said it clearly. People do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. We're going to descend, without fear, into the basement of your consciousness, into that dark corner where you've been storing all the "it's fine" and maybe they're just busy excuses. We're going to turn the light on in that uncomfortable space where a painful truth has been waiting to be acknowledged. That person you care so deeply about doesn't feel the same way. They never did. What they wanted wasn't you. It was the way you made them feel, the reflection of themselves they saw in your eyes. What they loved was what they could take from you. And the most painful part? You knew it. From the very beginning, you sensed it. But you looked away, because the human mind is a master illusionist. It hides red flags behind hope. It turns warning signs into background noise. Accepting that someone has been using you is not only humiliating, it's emotionally shattering. It forces you to confront your vulnerability, your deep need for love, your emotional dependence. And that's where the real battle begins, between what you want to believe and what's actually happening, between the fantasy you've been feeding and the reality that's been draining you. This isn't going to be a comfortable video. You're not here to have your ego stroked. You're here because part of you is exhausted. Part of you needs answers. You want to understand why you let them treat you this way. You want to learn how to finally recognize those people who don't value you, who don't love you, who only use you, not by mistake, but by design, as a psychological pattern, as a way of being. This isn't just one sad story. It's a mirror. And what you're going to see might not be pleasant, but it will be necessary. So, get ready. We're going to explore the fractures in the human soul. We're going to analyze the behaviors of people who pretend to care, who use words as bait, who know exactly when to show up and when to disappear, just to keep you emotionally dependent. And we're going to do it through the lens of deep psychology, through the darkness that Jung understood so well. Because if you don't confront your shadow, you'll spend your life trapped in it. This is not just another video. This is a confrontation. With them, yes, but above all, with yourself. Let's continue exactly where we left off. We're going to go even deeper. No circles, no repetition, no soft edges. Let's talk about something silent, yet deeply powerful, something very few dare to name. Emotional debt. Yes, emotional debt. Because when someone uses you, and you don't see it, or worse, you see it and allow it, you fall into a toxic dynamic that rarely speaks its name, but always leaves a permanent scar. You begin to feel like you owe them something, a debt you never signed for, never agreed to, and yet you carry it every day. Why? Because they made you believe you had to, that walking away meant you were selfish, that setting boundaries made you a bad person, that if you didn't save them, you were heartless. They conditioned you, slowly, skillfully, with guilty silences, with gentle manipulation disguised as love, with words like, "You're all I have," or "I'd be nothing without you." They turned you into their safety net, their unofficial therapist, their emotional partner without commitment, their crutch. But they never gave you the same in return. They never matched your effort. They never sat down to truly ask, "And how are you, really?" Because it was never about you. It never was. And here's where one of the most sinister parts of this dynamic shows up. False gratitude. That empty kind of thankfulness used to keep you close. They say, "Thank you for always being there," but they do nothing to protect your well-being. They say, "I don't know what I'd do without you," but never make sure you have a space to lean on too. Gratitude becomes emotional blackmail. And you, with your heart full of pure intentions, fall into the trap again and again. Because a part of you needs that role of savior, even if you're bleeding inside. Carl Jung once spoke of the archetype of the wounded healer, a figure who dedicates themselves to healing others, all while neglecting their own wounds. And maybe, without even realizing it, that's exactly where you find yourself right now. Fixing, supporting, holding others together, even as the cracks inside you continue to widen. Because the more you give, the further they drift away. The more you surrender, the more they demand. The harder you try to be seen as valuable, the more invisible and replaceable you feel. And here comes one of life's cruelest paradoxes: the fear of losing someone who never truly loved you. How can that be? How can you cry over someone who has given you nothing tangible, nothing real, beyond the illusion that maybe someday they might. It's because you're not really mourning them. You're grieving the version of them that existed only in your mind. You're mourning the promises that were never fulfilled, all the scenarios you built up in your imagination, all the hopes, the what-ifs, the dreams that never came to be, and never will. So how do you begin to free yourself? The key lies in recognizing the difference between presence and connection. Because someone can physically be next to you every day and still not be truly with you in any meaningful sense. And the opposite is also true. Someone can leave your life and still treat you with more respect than the one who shares your bed each night. Some people don't stay because of love. They stay because it's convenient, because you're useful, because you've unknowingly become their free therapist, their emotional outlet, their personal audience, their dumping ground for unresolved frustrations. And if you don't put a stop to it, this turns into a pattern, an emotional addiction cleverly disguised as loyalty. You start justifying the unjustifiable. You begin to normalize pain, to romanticize waiting, to convince yourself that true love must mean sacrifice. But let me be very clear. What you're experiencing is not love. It's a one-sided dependency, a parasitic relationship where you keep giving, and they just keep taking. And if you're still holding on to hope, if you're still telling yourself that one day they'll wake up, see your worth, and finally say, "I appreciate you," then please stop. That day will not come. Because someone who feeds off you, who drains your energy for their own survival, will never be the one to teach you how to walk away. They won't let you go, not because they love you, but because losing you would mean confronting the emptiness they carry inside. And they're not ready to face that. They'd rather have you continue to carry their darkness while they pretend to be your light. Now we enter deeper waters. The idea of idealization as a form of emotional escapism. You don't idealize someone who uses you because they're truly exceptional. You do it because you need something to hold on to. You turn them into your compass, your anchor, your reason to keep going. Because if you let go, you're forced to confront the gaping void of your own loneliness. And that hurts more than any breakup ever could. But you can't keep running from yourself. You can't keep holding up someone who would never stop to catch you if you were the one falling. You can't keep calling it fate when it's clearly a toxic loop. Want to know if someone really loves you or just needs you? Watch how they react when you stop giving them what they want, when you say no, when you set a boundary. That's when the truth comes out. Because real love isn't tested when everything's easy. It's revealed when you're no longer useful to them. That's when the mask falls. That's when you see whether there was genuine affection or just convenience. And now, the hardest part to admit. Maybe that person you're so deeply tied to isn't even fully aware of the damage they're causing. Because there's something more dangerous than conscious manipulation, emotional unconsciousness. People who've never done the inner work, who carry unresolved trauma, who act out old patterns on autopilot. And you become the collateral damage of their inner war. But that still doesn't excuse it. Understanding isn't the same as excusing. You can have compassion for someone's pain and still walk away because your peace matters more than any shared history. You weren't born to be someone's unfinished project. You weren't born to be a backup plan. You weren't born to be an emotional sponge for someone else's chaos. And if you've made it this far, if you're still here, still listening, it's because something inside you is already awakening. That part of you that no longer wants to be useful, but wants to be loved. Truly loved. without conditions, without manipulation, without emotional debt. So now the question becomes painfully simple. How many more chances will you give someone who doesn't love you? How many more times will you allow someone who doesn't value you to take up space in your life? How much longer will you postpone the bravest act of all, walking away when you know you're not being appreciated? You don't need to scream. You don't need revenge. You just need to do the one thing they fear the most: disappear. Because when you're gone, they can no longer use you. When you walk away, they lose their hold on you. And when you finally close that door, even if it breaks your heart, you begin to take your power back. And that's where we leave it for now. But what happens next? That's entirely up to you. Because if you've stayed until the end, if you haven't clicked away, if you didn't tune out with a, "Yeah, I already knew this" excuse, then let me tell you something that no one else will. You are no longer the same person you were just minutes ago. Because now you have something you didn't have before: awareness. Awareness of the hidden game, the silent power plays, the emotional language that speaks louder than any empty promise. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. That strange feeling you've carried with you, the sense that something was always off. It wasn't your imagination. That discomfort, that unease that would sneak up on you in their presence, the weight in your chest, the tension in your body. It was all real. It wasn't anxiety. It wasn't paranoia. It was your intuition. It was your soul, desperately trying to speak, to warn you, to shake you awake. But you silenced it. You forced it into the shadows because you didn't want to upset someone who deep down never truly cared for you. You tolerated the discomfort because you convinced yourself that it was normal, that love was supposed to feel like that: confusing, painful, heavy. But now, you're not asleep anymore. The fog is lifting. The illusion is crumbling. You start to see the cracks, the imbalance, the silent manipulation, the dependency disguised as love. You start to see that it was never love. It was need. A need to be needed. A desire to be chosen. A hunger for attention that was never fully satisfied. And now, finally, you understand. You weren't free. You were convenient. You weren't cherished. You were used. You were a placeholder, a temporary comfort, a distraction. And the most powerful realization: you know that you can leave, that you deserve to leave. Because real self-love isn't a motivational quote taped to your mirror. It's not a bubble bath or soft music playing in the background. Real self-love is hard. It's painful. It's making the decision to walk away from someone who never truly saw you, who only came around when they were lonely and vanished the moment you needed them. And right here, right now, is where everything begins to change. Because when you find the courage to disappear from the life of someone who only saw you as useful, you don't become the villain. You become someone who finally realized that their worth isn't measured by how much they are needed, but by how much they choose not to give away to people who never earned it. You're not running away. You're being reborn. You're shedding the version of yourself that settled for less, that accepted crumbs and mistook them for care. The version of you that thought closeness meant love, that being around was enough, even if your soul was starving. And yes, it hurts. It burns. You can feel it in your chest. Your throat tightens just thinking about the goodbye. The thought of walking away feels like losing a part of yourself. But listen, that is your sign. That pain, it's the signal. Because no one should hurt you that deeply. No one should have that much control over your peace, especially from a distance. No one should be allowed to disturb your mind, your heart, your stability, the way they do. There are people who don't wish you harm, but still bring harm to your life. And that's enough. That's more than enough. Enough to close the door. Enough to disappear. Enough to finally, truly choose yourself. Yes, it might be difficult at first. Yes, the guilt may whisper. Yes, the urge to explain yourself might feel overwhelming. But hear me clearly. Do not explain your peace. Do not justify your boundaries. Do not apologize for saving yourself. The person who failed to appreciate you when you were present doesn't deserve even a single word when you walk away. So if any part of this message has stirred something in you, if it has hit a nerve, cracked something open, brought something to the surface that you've been trying to bury, I want you to do just one thing, a simple act of declaration, a silent revolution. Leave this phrase in the comments. I am not your shelter if you are my storm. Nothing more. Just that. Anyone who reads it will understand. They'll know you've awakened too. And if this video spoke to you in a way no one else ever has, if you felt that finally someone found the words for what you've been carrying silently inside, then subscribe, but not out of obligation. Subscribe because here, in this chaotic corner of emotional turmoil, we're not done. Not even close. We're going to keep digging. We're going to keep pulling uncomfortable truths out from under the rug where they've been buried for too long. We're going to keep tearing off the masks, one by one, until what's left is nothing but the raw, unfiltered reality. And we're going to keep choosing something that very few have the courage to face, the truth, even when it hurts. Share this. Share it with the one who needs it most, with the person who's been stuck for years in a one-sided relationship, convincing themselves that crumbs are enough, with the one still waiting for a call that's never going to come, with the soul who wakes up every morning hoping that this will be the day they're finally seen, finally chosen. Be the spark. Be the switch that turns on the light in the darkest corner of someone else's shadow. And now I'm leaving. But not like everyone else. Not with a lukewarm goodbye. Not with a cookie-cutter phrase that sounds nice, but means nothing. I'm leaving with silence. The kind of silence that only arrives after everything's been said. The kind of silence that doesn't comfort, but confronts. The silence that forces you to think, to feel, to remember. I'm leaving with that echo that won't shut off. That voice in your head that keeps playing even after you've closed this video. Because once you know your worth, you simply can't stay where you're not valued. So close your eyes, breathe, and disappear until the next truth finds you.
Carl Jung believed that the path to inner peace is not about suppressing emotions, but about transforming the way we relate to them. Many people assume that detachment means becoming indifferent or emotionally numb, but in reality, it is about understanding our emotions deeply and learning to let go of what no longer serves us. Think about how often you find yourself trapped in repetitive thoughts about a person, a situation, or a painful memory. These experiences can drain your energy, fill you with anxiety, and make you feel stuck. Maybe it's a relationship that brings you more pain than joy, yet you struggle to walk away. Or perhaps it's a past event that lingers in your mind, making you feel like you can never fully move on. Jung suggested that these patterns are not random. They are messages from your unconscious mind urging you to pay attention. Unlike logical reasoning, the unconscious does not communicate through words, but rather through emotions, symbols, and behavioral patterns. It continuously sends us signals, yet most of the time, we ignore them. This is why we often find ourselves repeating the same mistakes, facing similar conflicts, or attracting the same kind of relationships. According to Jung, This happens because we have not yet learned the lessons these experiences are meant to teach us. Life, he believed, is an ongoing dialogue between the conscious and the unconscious. Until we acknowledge this internal conversation, we remain caught in a cycle of frustration and pain. True emotional detachment is not about forcing yourself to forget or pretending something doesn't affect you. It's about recognizing the emotional weight you've been carrying, processing it, and consciously deciding to release it. Letting go is not a form of escape. It is an act of courage. It requires us to face our deepest fears, acknowledge our wounds, and make peace with them. When we continue to hold on to people, situations, or memories that no longer align with who we are, we sacrifice our own well-being. We may lose our peace of mind, our energy, or even our sense of purpose. Jung taught that real transformation happens when we dare to confront our inner world. By embracing our shadows instead of running from them, we open the door to self-discovery, growth, and a deeper connection with ourselves. The question is, are you willing to release what is holding you back in order to step into the life you truly deserve? Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path feels familiar, predictable, and safe, yet deep inside, you know it leaves you unfulfilled. The other is uncertain, filled with the unknown, but it holds the possibility of something greater. Most people choose the familiar road, even if it causes them pain, because the fear of uncertainty outweighs their desire for change. But Jung challenges us to rethink that fear, not as an obstacle, but as an invitation to grow. When you start releasing what no longer serves you, something remarkable happens. Your energy shifts, your mind clears, and suddenly, life begins to align. The right people enter your life, new opportunities emerge, and most importantly, you rediscover a sense of peace you may have forgotten was possible. But this process demands courage. Letting go is rarely easy, especially when we've grown attached to what is familiar, even if it harms us. The key lies in trusting yourself, in that quiet, inner voice that always knows what is best, even when you ignore it. Jung believed that within each of us exists an internal compass, a silent guide pointing us toward our truth. This compass is our intuition, our deep connection to the unconscious. And when we learn to follow it, life becomes simpler, more authentic, and profoundly fulfilling. Now, take a moment to reflect. What is truly holding you back? What emotional weight are you still carrying that no longer serves you? And how would your life change if you allowed yourself to release it? It's not an easy decision, but it's one of the most powerful choices you can make. Because in the end, emotional detachment is not about loss. It's about liberation. It's about creating space for new beginnings, for what truly matters, for what aligns with your soul. And when you take that step, everything transforms: your energy, your relationships, and most importantly, your inner peace. As you embark on this journey of emotional detachment, remember, you are not losing, you are gaining. You might find yourself letting go of people, situations, or even long-held beliefs, but in doing so, you are reclaiming something far more valuable: your emotional freedom and your true self. Carl Jung spoke of individuation as a journey of self-discovery, a path to uncover who you truly are beyond the roles and masks you have worn to fit into the world. Individuation, according to Jung, is the key to a fulfilling life. It is a process of integration, embracing both your light and your shadows and allowing yourself to be whole. But you cannot be whole if you are still clinging to toxic relationships, limiting beliefs, or unresolved emotions. Letting go is an essential part of this journey. Only when you release what is not truly yours can you open yourself to what is meant for you. Have you ever felt like you were living a life that wasn't really your own, as if you were merely following a script someone else wrote for you? Now is the time to take control of your story. Jung would argue that this happens because we have allowed external expectations to dictate our identity. Society, family, friends, and even our own insecurities shape a mold we struggle to fit into, even at the cost of betraying our true selves. But there comes a point when that mask becomes unbearable, when the weight of pretending is too heavy to carry. That moment, when your authentic self begins to push against the surface, can be unsettling, even painful. Yet, it is also a powerful turning point, a chance to break free. Because the moment you start questioning the illusions you've been living under, when you dare to confront what you truly feel and think, you take the first real step toward liberation. Jung encourages us to see this not as a crisis, but as a transformation, an opportunity to shed what no longer defines us and embrace what genuinely does. You may be wondering, how do I begin? How do I let go? The answer lies in self-reflection. Set aside a quiet moment with yourself and ask, what emotions have I been suppressing? What situations or relationships are draining me? And most importantly, what do I truly want from my life? These questions may seem simple, but they hold immense power. Answering them with honesty sparks a conversation with your unconscious, and that dialogue is the first step toward healing. Jung believed that the unconscious is like a vast ocean, full of hidden treasures but also lurking shadows. These shadows are the parts of ourselves we have denied, buried, or rejected because they felt unacceptable. But ignoring them does not erase them. In fact, it strengthens their hold over us. Only when we find the courage to confront them can we begin to integrate and release their influence. Imagine your mind as a garden. If you neglect the weeds, they will not disappear. They will grow, choking the flowers, draining the soil of nutrients. But if you take the time to clear them, to tend to the space, you can plant something new, something vibrant. The same applies to your emotions and relationships. If you do not examine and nurture them, they will end up controlling you. However, the moment you decide to face them, you create the space for something better. This process may lead you to realize that certain people in your life no longer align with who you are becoming. Some relationships, instead of uplifting you, keep you trapped in cycles of negativity. Letting go of them is not an act of selfishness, but one of self-respect. And Jung would remind us that self-love is not a luxury. It is a necessity, because only when you truly value yourself can you extend authentic love to others. You may also uncover limiting beliefs that have been holding you back for years. Thoughts like, I am not enough, I need this person to be happy, or if I let go, I will never find something better. Your beliefs are not absolute truths. They are stories you have constructed over time, often shaped by the expectations of others. But what if I told you that you have the power to rewrite those stories? You are not doomed to live under the same limiting narratives. You can choose a perspective that empowers you instead of one that keeps you trapped in the past. When you start making these changes, something remarkable happens. Not only does your mind feel lighter, but your energy shifts as well. The emotional burdens that once kept you stuck begin to dissolve, transforming into a force that drives your personal growth. Confusion fades into clarity, apathy turns into motivation, and you experience a deep sense of peace you may not have felt in a long time. This is because letting go is not about losing. It's about returning to yourself, to your balance, to your true essence. Emotional detachment is not an act of coldness or indifference. It is, in reality, a sign of emotional and spiritual maturity. Jung spoke of the importance of integrating the parts of ourselves that we have chosen to ignore or suppress. Embracing our shadow does not just heal us internally. It transforms our relationships, allowing us to break free from toxic cycles and repetitive patterns. Every time you choose to release something that no longer aligns with you, you are making a courageous decision. You are sending a clear message to your unconscious mind. You deserve more, you are ready to evolve, and you are willing to create space for what truly elevates you. But this process is not easy. Letting go means confronting some of your deepest fears. The fear of being alone, the fear of change, the fear of the unknown. Yet, as Jung taught, true power lies in facing these fears head-on. Resistance to change is natural. Your mind will try to cling to what is familiar, even if that familiarity brings suffering. But here's the real question. What are you sacrificing by staying where you no longer belong? Are you giving up your mental peace, your happiness, your dreams? Choosing to let go is not a loss. It is an opening. You are not losing anything that truly belongs to you. You are making room for something greater, something more authentic, something aligned with who you are becoming. Imagine how your life would change if you stopped carrying the weight of what no longer serves you. Think about the relief, the regained energy, the deep sense of calm you could experience. That kind of freedom is not a distant fantasy. It is within your reach. All it takes is one decision, recognizing what is holding you back and choosing to release it. Jung taught that our unconscious mind constantly communicates with us, but it does so through symbols, emotions, and recurring patterns in our lives. If you find yourself stuck in relationships that drain you or situations that bring you continuous discomfort, it is not a coincidence. It is your unconscious sending you a message, showing you a lesson that you have yet to learn. However, we often ignore these signs, hoping things will change on their own or believing we have no control over our reality. But the truth is, change is always within your grasp. It is not about waiting for the perfect moment or relying on luck. It is about taking action, listening to what your soul truly needs, and having the courage to write a new story for yourself. Let me tell you something, you have the power. You have the ability to reshape your life, redirect your energy, and create an environment that truly reflects your values and authenticity. But to do that, you must be willing to release what no longer serves you. And this act of letting go isn't just a gift to yourself. It's a ripple effect that touches everyone around you. When you free yourself from toxic relationships and limiting patterns, you unconsciously inspire others to do the same. Emotional detachment isn't about abandoning everything without thought. It's about taking a deep, honest look at your life, recognizing what aligns with you and what doesn't, then making choices that reflect that awareness. This process takes courage, but it also demands patience and self-compassion. Transformation doesn't happen overnight, but every small step you take moves you closer to the inner peace you crave. And here's the remarkable thing. As you begin to release, you'll notice that life starts to shift in unexpected ways. The right people come into your life, new opportunities arise, and decisions that once felt overwhelming suddenly become clear and effortless. It's as if the universe responds to your decision to live in alignment with your truth. Jung spoke of synchronicity, a profound concept that perfectly illustrates this. When you are in tune with yourself, the external world begins to mirror that harmony. This isn't magic. It's the manifestation of your internal energy. And that energy, when it's focused and unburdened by unnecessary attachments, has the power to transform not only your life but also the lives of those around you. Of course, this journey won't be without challenges. There will be moments when the pull of the familiar tempts you to return to old habits, even when you know they no longer bring you happiness. But every time you choose peace over chaos, authenticity over fear, you're building a life of meaning, one that no one can take from you. As you navigate the path of emotional detachment, remember, you are not alone. Even though it may feel like you're venturing into the unknown, countless others have walked this road before you. Jung referred to this as a journey of the inner hero, a process where each step toward confronting your fears and shedding emotional burdens brings you closer to your truest self. Think of it this way. Every time you choose to let go, you are breaking invisible chains that have held you captive, chains woven from expectations, guilt, and the fear of rejection. But by breaking them, you're opening the door to a kind of freedom that many will never experience because they remain trapped in the comfort of the familiar. Walking this path does not mean you will be free from pain or discomfort. On the contrary, there will be moments when you feel fragile, confused, or even lost. Yet, it is precisely in those moments of uncertainty that the most profound transformation takes place. Jung believed that consciousness cannot awaken without suffering. It is through these struggles that you uncover your true strength, your resilience, and, most importantly, your authenticity. Releasing what no longer serves you allows you to reconnect with something that has always been within you, your intuition, that inner voice that knows what is right for you, even when you choose to ignore it. But when you finally start listening, something extraordinary happens. The decisions that once felt impossible suddenly become clear. The relationships that once drained you start to fade, making room for the ones that uplift you. This is not random. Jung believed in the power of synchronicity, the mysterious way in which events align as if the universe is responding to your inner transformation. These experiences are not mere coincidences. They are proof that aligning your life with your truth has a real impact on the world around you. However, reaching this level of clarity requires deep self-exploration. You must be willing to face your shadows, the hidden aspects of yourself that you have suppressed because they feel uncomfortable or even frightening. Jung famously said that enlightenment is not achieved by imagining figures of light, but by bringing darkness into consciousness. This is the most profound and transformative inner work you can do. When you face your shadows, you are not just healing old wounds. You are reclaiming lost parts of yourself. Perhaps you will rediscover forgotten talents, abandoned dreams, or an inner strength you never knew you had. This process is far from easy, but the result is a life that feels genuine, purposeful, and, above all, peaceful. Imagine waking up each morning feeling light, knowing that every decision you make is aligned with who you truly are. This does not mean that life will be perfect or that you will never encounter obstacles, but it does mean that you will have the clarity and strength to face them with balance and confidence. Part of this journey involves learning to set boundaries. Jung believed that our energy is sacred and must be protected from anything that drains it. This is not always easy, especially when it involves people close to us. But setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-respect. When you take care of your energy, you are not only benefiting yourself, but also those who truly matter, because you are showing up as your best self. Think about how different your life would be if you could say no without guilt. If you could prioritize your needs without feeling selfish. If you could surround yourself with people who uplift you instead of exhausting you. This is not some unattainable dream. It is something you can achieve when you choose to detach emotionally from what no longer resonates with you. Letting go does not mean failure or giving up. It means choosing something better for yourself. Choosing yourself means prioritizing your peace, happiness, and authenticity. Every time you make decisions that support your well-being, you are actively shaping a life that truly reflects who you are. When you begin to live in alignment with your inner truth, something incredible happens. You naturally attract everything that resonates with your essence. The right people, the right opportunities, and the deep sense of peace you have been searching for all start to flow effortlessly into your life. But this is not a coincidence. It is a direct result of having the courage to release what no longer serves you and embrace the person you were always meant to be. This journey is not about reaching a final destination. It is a continuous evolution. There will be days when fear or doubt try to creep back in, but now you have something invaluable, the awareness that you have a choice. You get to decide which thoughts to nurture, which relationships to keep, and which path to follow. That is your greatest power. The beauty of emotional detachment, as Jung taught, is that it not only transforms your inner world, but also creates a ripple effect in the world around you. When you break free from the chains of the past, you inspire others to do the same. When you choose to live from a place of authenticity, you set off a chain reaction that touches everyone in your life. Your transformation becomes a source of light, a silent yet powerful influence that encourages others to embrace their own truth. So now, I invite you to reflect deeply. What are you ready to release today? What beliefs, relationships, or emotions have been holding you back from moving forward? The answers to these questions could be the key to stepping into the life you were always meant to live. The decision to let go is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of courage. It means you are ready to step into the life you truly deserve, free from the weight of the past and open to the infinite possibilities that await you. Growth is not about avoiding pain, but about transforming it into wisdom. It is about using every challenge, every setback, and every difficult moment as fuel to propel you forward. Imagine for a moment how your life would change if you no longer carried the burdens that have been weighing you down. Imagine waking up every day with a heart full of peace, knowing that you are in alignment with your truth, no longer seeking validation from others, no longer trapped by past regrets, but instead walking with confidence toward the life you were meant to live. This is not a dream. It is a choice to reclaim your power, to break free from limiting beliefs, and to embrace the limitless potential that exists within you. The journey will not always be easy, and there will be moments of doubt, but every step you take toward your true self will be worth it. You are capable of incredible transformation, and the moment you decide to release what no longer serves you, you will realize that the only thing standing between you and your best life has always been the fear of letting go. So I ask you once more, what are you ready to release today? What part of your past, what fear, what toxic attachment are you willing to leave behind so that you can finally embrace the future that is waiting for you? The time to take action is now. Your new life begins the moment you choose it. And remember, this is just the beginning. If you found this message valuable, make sure to subscribe and stay with us for more content that will guide you on your journey of transformation. See you in the next video.